The High Senior Mega 7, which confusingly is actually one tier down from their Mega 5 EST. The Mega 7 is High Senior's newest entry into the market, sporting, as the name implies, 6 balanced armatures alongside a single dynamic driver woofer in a hybrid configuration, and retails for $449 US. We're talking about it on the Hangout.audio channel, which means yes, I approve of it, but let me just rip the band-aid off and just say that the Mega 7 is basically a project meta that you can buy right now. Obviously, there are still a bit of caveats, for example, the fact that it is a lot more expensive and comes with arguably a worse build. But yes, for those of you who have missed out, wanted to buy one but still for some reason couldn't, then well, the Mega 7 is what I would consider a pretty dang close alternative. But of course, at this point, all of you want to know more. So let's just talk about it. Why exactly is the Mega 7 Clinical approved? And why is it so close to the meta? Let's talk about it. So as I've mentioned, yes, this is the High Senior Mega 7, which is kind of High Senior's attempt at making a cheaper version of the Mega 5 EST, somewhat at least. First, let's get into the non-audio stuff, starting with the accessories, and you get quite a fair bit. You start off with a leather-ish carrying case, followed by 2 sets of silicone tips, one which they call balance tips and the other one which they call smooth tips. You also get 2 sets of foam tips, a set of filters, as well as a cable clip. The IEMs themselves are built to what you would expect out of a High Senior product. It is a hollow resin shell and is pseudo custom. That is to say, there's quite a bit of contouring on the shell that attempts to fit all the little nooks and crannies inside your ears. The cable feels premium. There is a bit of that vinyl sheathing going on, and it only comes in a 4.4 mm balanced termination. So it is not interchangeable, but as an alternative, they have provided a 4.4 to 3.5 single-ended adapter instead. Now, this is not the most optimal solution. I would prefer an interchangeable termination instead, but hey, it still works. It's just that if you do have to use it, it is an additional adapter that is dangling out of your IEM. Now, with all that out of the way, now let's talk about what you're probably all here for, and that is the sound. And yes, whether or not you would like to call it a coincidence or maybe a bit of inspiration, the Mega 7 is indeed kind of a dead ringer for the Project Meta's sound signature. And it is for that reason that I find myself in a peculiar situation where I have to basically approve the Mega 7 because, yeah, this is the sound that I really like. Yes, the Mega 7 tries to go for that new meta kind of tuning, the population average diffuse field that is tilted down slightly, as well as adding on a bass boost. The bass shape itself is, yes, right up to my alley. I love the fact that it's extremely low, that allows for that greater separation, better presentation, and gives a lot more clarity in those notes. And as you go up into the mid-range, it is again basically a dead ringer for the population average diffuse field response. Very nice, very natural, and simply just sounds normal. And as we move into the treble, it is smooth, but still adds on a little bit of that sparkle, that brilliance, that pizzazz, that adds a little bit of extra excitement on what would have been a dead neutral IEM. And all of these are the same hallmarks that are on my own Crane Ear Project Meta, an IEM that I released earlier this year and is now no longer available for sale. So I do acknowledge the disappointment from many of my fans who would like to have a Project Meta but now simply cannot or have to resort to buying from the used market. But now I can safely say, I can safely announce that there is now a viable alternative in the High Senior Mega 7. It is an amazingly tuned IEM, natural mids paired with exciting but controlled bass, as well as a sparkly but not sibilant treble. Now the questions on all of your minds will probably be, how is the Mega 7 compared to its competition, to its own brother, the Mega 5 EST, as well as the newest kid on the block, the nice HCK Rockies? The Mega 5 EST comes off as significantly warmer, slower, and smoothed over in the treble, which might be to some people's taste. The Mega 7, on the other hand, comes off as a little bit more clinical, more defined in its notes, and overall, I would say also more energetic. The cutbacks in the mid bass, alongside what I perceive to be a little bit extra treble, actually makes the Mega 7 closer to my own tastes. So if you're asking me personally, I would say that the Mega 7 as well as the Mega 5 EST are both kind of just side grades of one another. I don't think it's necessarily an improvement if you get the Mega 5 after owning the Mega 7, for example. But at the same time, I also can't really recommend the Mega 7 if you already own a Mega 5 EST, unless you don't mind just buying a different flavored IEM for what is basically kind of in the same price bracket. Compared to the Rockies, it's also kind of the same situation. Like I said, in terms of the Mega 5 EST versus the Rockies, they are also kind of a side grade situation. I wouldn't say one is necessarily better than the other. The Mega 7 presents itself closer to that of the Rockies, and their price ranges kind of also reflect that, $450 versus basically almost $500. So amongst the three musketeers, I would say that there's not really one that stands out above the rest, but that's also kind of the nature of the hobby. Sound is very subjective and everyone has different tastes. And on top of that, all of these IEMs actually tune very similarly to each other. So I don't think there will be a case where someone would absolutely hate one model, but then love the other, because they're all just not that different really. At the end of the day, the Mega 7 truly is an extremely strong entry from High Senior, and this is coming from the guy who didn't like their last release, which was the Kano Crystallis. Now let's talk about the shoulds and the shouldn'ts, why you should consider buying a Mega 7 and why you shouldn't. You should if you're looking for, again, one of those IEMs with the meta tuning, the population average diffuse field tilted with a bass boost. Very natural mids, very nice controlled bass, very smooth but sparkly treble, all of which combine to form what is an extremely capable IEM. Perhaps you're someone who's looking for a slightly different flavor of High Senior's own Mega 5 EST, or someone who doesn't like the EST treble, in which case the Mega 7 is quite a valid alternative. And as mentioned, if you're someone who's looking for a small little taste of the project meta, then the Mega 7 is, I would consider it, a fairly close approximation of it. And why shouldn't you consider the Mega 7? Well, I am well aware of people having a bit of that meta fatigue, so the Mega 7 is fortunately part of that category of tuning. So if you're not looking for that, don't get it. The build also leaves much to be desired, especially at this price point. Again, hollow resin is not going to be my first choice, and it's going to be fragile if you accidentally drop it on the floor. The adapter situation is also a little bit underwhelming. I personally don't like to use a 4.4 to 3.5 adapter, but it works, I guess, just not optimal. And lastly, we also have to address the elephant in the room, and that is the pricing, because if you're someone who just wants to listen to something that's tuned to the population average diffuse field tuning, then there are a lot of other options that would be much cheaper. You have the Kiwi Ears Astro, the Kiwi Ears KE4, you have my own Crane Ear Daybreak, and you even go even lower, you can even go for the Truth Ear Hexas as well as the new Pures. But hey, you don't have to take my word for it, you can always try it out for yourself at The Hangout. We're located at 200 South Bridge Road in Chinatown. Come on down, grab a cup of coffee or even an ice cream, and then ask for the High Senior Mega 7. Try it out for yourself and then form your own opinions. And for those of you not lucky enough to be residing in Singapore, then you can always come on down to Hangout.audio, our online retail store. We ship globally and for free for orders over $30 US. This is Critical for Hangout.audio, and remember kids, if it's not on the list, it doesn't exist. See you next week.